Welcome to Satari Self-Care Institute. My name is Katrina Jones, Prosperity Life Coach. Satari Self-Care Institute is a school that offers classes, discussions, and guest speakers as we explore the topics of self-care, career development, business building, and wealth consciousness. As we go through our series today, we're going to talk about emotional thermometers. We're going to talk about our emotions. Where are our emotions at? What is our gauge? And how do we know? How do we determine how we are feeling? And if we're somewhere, if we're feeling something that we don't want to be feeling, how do we get out of that feeling and how do we get to where we want to be? We're going to discuss that today. Now, if I say Satari Self-Care Institute, please excuse me, Satari, or if I say Satari Life Skills Institute, please bear with me. Satari Self-Care Institute is formerly known as Satari Life Skills. So, I'm still getting used to Satari Self-Care, and please bear with me. Emotional thermometer. We all have one, and it is a gauge that lets us know where we are emotionally. Let's say we take our temperature. We have a thermometer and we put our thermometer in our mouth. We take that thermometer out and we look at it and it is 98.6, which is considered pretty normal temperature. So let's say anywhere between 97 and 99 is quote unquote normal. As it relates to our emotions, we're going to say that normal is a feeling of being in the here and now, being in the zone, feeling good, feeling happy, feeling joyful, feeling self-assured, self-confidence, feeling safe, having a sense of well-being, feeling loved. Those emotions, those feelings, we're going to say that is how it feels like to be in the here and now. Because many of us don't know how to feel normal, doesn't know what it feels like to be in a normal state. It's important to attach words to what these emotions are so that we can better gauge. So what does it feel like for you to be in the here and now? Being in the present is the ability to let go of those things that do not serve our higher being, our higher purpose. It doesn't serve our greater good. So when we learn how to let go of those things that just don't bring us those feelings of peace, those feelings of well-being, those feelings of joy, those feelings that make us feel safe, and those feelings that make us feel love, that is a sign that, we can get where we want to be. Now, here's some questions that we have to learn how to ask ourselves when we're gauging, when we're trying to figure out what are we feeling, where am I at emotionally, what's going on with me, in this situation or in this circumstance or in this time. One of the questions is, whose problem is this? Whose responsibility is this? Because often we can take on responsibilities and problems that don't really belong to us. They belong to other people. And as we grow, as we learn and grow, especially as parents, we learn how to give our children and we learn how to give people around us the dignity of taking responsibility for their own stuff, dealing with, taking responsibility for their own problems, for their own life. So whose problem is this? Am I taking on something that doesn't even belong to me? Or is this really my stuff? Another question is, what part do I play in this situation? Am I making myself the victim? Or am I recognizing that in this situation, here's the part that I played, and here's what I need to do differently in order to get a different situation if I'm being taken out of that here and now feeling. How is this situation serving my greater good? Is this situation serving my greater good? Why is this important? Why is this important to me today? Is this important? Does this situation have to be solved today? A lot of times it's easy to feel like we have to solve all the problems of the world and they have to be solved today. But, realistically, we have to ask ourselves, does this need to be solved today? Will this be able to be solved today? And if the answer is no, being able to shelf it, being able to put it on the shelf and let it go. Important stuff. So when I'm in the here and now, I am happy. I feel blissful. I feel gratitude. I feel love. I feel safe. So let's look at, my temperature is at 98.6, normal, feeling good. And it's important to know that we are designed as human beings to feel good. Life is meant to be enjoyed. We are meant to be happy. But, we often have to learn how to be happy. We have to figure out, again, how to eliminate that stuff that does not serve our greater good so that we can get more of those things that do serve us. So, have you gotten lost in the future? Let's look for the clues. Like our bodies, our emotional temperatures can drop too far. Or can go, our temperature can drop. Our emotional temperature can drop when we go too far in the future or when we stay there too long. And when you talk about temperature, hot and cold, I like to look at going too far in the future as hypothermia. And hypothermia is a condition that happens when your body temperature falls below the normal range. So let's say when our emotional temperature, when our body temperature, or say our emotional temperature goes to 95 or below, that's a sign that we are going into hypothermia, or we're going too far in the future. Now, with hypothermia, the body gets cold, the skin is no longer able to hold warmth, and damage can result of frostbite, loss of limbs over time. And if our body temperature is not brought back to normal, it can cause death, it can cause loss of limbs. So it's a serious condition, hypothermia, when our body temperature goes below normal. How does it affect us emotionally when our emotional temperature goes below that here and now? When we go too far in the future? How do we know? How can you tell you've gone too far in the future? Well, some things, some signs that can let you know that you are too far in the future is it can cause you to have fear. And often when we are afraid, when we are in fear, we are worried about things that have not happened yet. We're worried. So anxiety, fear, those are just a few emotions that can trigger us or help us to know that our emotional temperature has shifted from being happy from being normal to being too far in the future. And sometimes, sometimes when we go too far in the future, sometimes we have to just kind of back it up. But it's easy to say things like, when I get that job, my life is going to be okay. Or when I make $30,000, when I make my $100,000, when I make my first million, my problems will be solved. Everything is going to be all right. Or when my kids grow up, I'll have a life. Also, creating stories in our mind that don't exist, such as, I know I won't pass that test. I know I'm not smart enough to start my own business. Also, we can get stuck taking on too much responsibility or trying to solve problems that don't belong to us. Just getting caught in the future, going too far in the future. And it's nothing wrong with, projecting, where do I see myself? Where do I want to go? What do I want to do? What do I want this to look like? Nothing wrong with going in the future, but when we go in the future and we stay there too long, it can cause distress. And that's when we run into problems, because it causes us to have anxiety and fear and worry. And it takes us out of the here and now. It takes us out of that feeling of happiness. It takes us out of that feeling of feeling safe. It takes us out of that feeling of feeling secure. So those are some signs of hypothermia, going too far in the future. Have you gotten lost in the past? Let's look at the clues. Hyperthermia is when the body temperature overheats higher than the normal temperature. So anything over 100 degrees or higher is hyperthermia. So let's look at what our emotional temperature looks like, our emotional thermometer, when we've gone too far back in the past. Now, it can be caused by many different conditions. Now, let's talk about, let's go back and let's talk about hyperthermia and what can cause hyperthermia and with our body temperatures. So it can be caused by many different conditions such as infections or extreme hot weather. This can cause strokes, heat rash, seizures, and even death. Our emotional thermometer can also rise when we get too far in the past or we stay there too long. Being too far in the past or staying there too long can often trigger feelings of anger, hurt, resentment, remorse, revenge, and longing. Sitting back thinking about that time when this happened, that time when so-and-so did this to me. You know? It can cause feelings of jealousy, regret, self-pity, just to name a few emotions that rise up when we're too far in the past. Those are signs. We usually make statements such as, if I had just stayed in school, my life could have been different. Or, if I had only known then what I know now. Or, if you would just change, I would be okay. It's all your fault. Or, it's your fault. Or, I always screw up. You know, when we say those kind of things, those are signs that we have shifted from being in the here and now, which is that feeling of love, feeling safe, to now I'm feeling, jealousy, hate, remorse, envy. So those are important. Those emotions are signs that let us know what is going on with us emotionally. Where am I emotionally? Am I where I want to be emotionally? And if I'm not feeling the feelings that I want to be feeling, I got to recognize, where am I? What's going on with me? Am I too far in the future? Am I too far in the past? Or am I in the here and now? And what are some things that I can do to shift back into the here and now, to where I want to be? What are some things I can do? So we need to pay attention to those feelings when they come up, because they will and they do. And when those feelings come up, don't stuff them and don't act like they don't exist. Acknowledge it. I'm feeling kind of envious right now. Pay attention to that. And then, and because it'll help you to figure out, what's going on with me? Why am I feeling this? Why? Is this how I want to be feeling? And once you feel the feeling, acknowledge it. And if it's not where you want to be, thank it. Thank you. Thank you, jealousy. Thank you, anger. Thank you, sorrow, for coming. Thank you. But this is not where I want to be. I don't want to stay here too long. Don't want to stay here too long. So recognize it. And at least once a day, acknowledge yourself for at least one accomplishment that you have done. Acknowledge yourself, self-acknowledgement. Pat yourself on the back for doing something good. Doesn't have to be anything big. It can be, I got out of bed today. Because we're all in different places, different spaces, at different times in our lives. And for me, today, just getting out of bed could have been a very big accomplishment. So, let's start acknowledging ourselves and giving ourselves credit for the things that we are doing right. It's so easy to look at and criticize ourselves and others for the things that we're doing wrong. But begin to acknowledge what we're doing right, what you're doing right. Say one positive thing about yourself each day. Just one positive thing every day. Drink water. At least 6 to 8 glasses of water a day. Our bodies are made of water. The majority of our body is water. And when we don't hydrate ourselves, it can mess up, it can prevent us from feeling our best. So making sure that we're drinking water, not sodas all day and not wine all day, but drinking water. Ask your doctor about incorporating some type of physical activity into your daily routine, even if it's nothing but walking. And actually, walking is one of the best exercises that you can do to take care of yourself. Not only does walking help you physically, but it helps you mentally. Walking or exercising or appreciating nature in some way at least 3 times a week. Find beauty. Find beauty somewhere and acknowledge it. Appreciate it. Some of us live in such beautiful places and we take it for granted. Some people live in the best meadows. Some people live in the mountains. Some people live by the water. Some people I tell you, we take so much for granted. And many of us live places that others sometimes take a whole year to put money together to take a vacation, to go to those places where we may live. And it doesn't take a lot of money to take care of yourself, to enjoy nature. It helps you to feel better and to release stress. Engage in activities that bring you closer to your authentic self. And your authentic self is love. Find things that make you feel good. Me doing this video right now, it makes me feel real good because I love sharing. I enjoy being around my family. What are those things that make you feel good? For some people, it's doing hobbies. Some people love to cook for others. Some people love being around children. Other people love creating, making things with their hands, whatever it, You owe it to yourself to find out what brings you joy. What makes you happy? What makes you smile? What are those gifts, those skills, those talents that God gave you, that you were born with, that the universe blessed you with naturally? You owe it to yourself to explore and to begin to use those gifts and skills and talents to make the world a better place. Find activities that bring you joy. Joy often costs very little money. Explore and incorporate those activities into your life. I can remember when my children were young, and I worked, and I didn't have a lot. I didn't have a lot of money. I did well. I was very grateful that God provided for me and allowed me to take care of my children. Because a large portion of my children's upbringing, I was a single mom. I remember some of the best times that we had were when I would and with some of my children and I we don't eat meat anymore, but at this time we did eat meat. But I would take aluminum foil and put chicken and vegetables and season it up and close up the packet, and then another aluminum foil I would put maybe fish and vegetables and cut up some potatoes and season it. Do that and take a little bit of charcoal, and then we'd go to the park and we'd light up the grill, and the food would be cooking on the grill, already all insulated. The food would be cooking on the grill, and while the food was cooking, we had a kickball, or the kids would bring their bikes, and and then I maybe have a book, and they're playing or we're playing, and I'm reading, and we would just have some of the best times. And it was a matter of us going to a park and setting up and then having fun. Sometimes we used to go to, at the time it was the dollar show, so don't judge me. It was the dollar show. Actually, it was the 99-cent show when my kids were young. Now it may be $2 or $3 show, but going to the movies at off peak hours. So having fun doesn't have to cost a lot of money. And the final thing I'd like to say is be still and listen. Allow your heart and vibration to be your guide, your intuition, your intuitive nature. Allow it to guide you. Pay attention to what your body is saying to you. Pay attention to what your gut is saying to you. Listen. Don't feel like you have to have the TV on 24 hours. Don't feel like you have to sleep with the TV on or the music on. Don't feel like you always have to have something going on. You don't. I've often heard that prayer is, thanking God or the universe, or asking for what you want. But meditation or being still is listening to the answers that God and the universe has for you. How can you ever listen to the answers if you're never still? Be still sometimes. So that's it for today. If you like this video, please press the like button. Please share. Subscribe to the YouTube station. I want to thank you for being a part of this self-care community. Let me know. Share in the comment section and let me know, how do you know when you are in the here and the now? What are those things that bring you joy? What are those things that make you happy? What feelings allow you to know that you are in the zone? And what are some healthy techniques that you use to stay in the here and now, to stay in that happy place? Share. If there's information that you'd like for me to share in the areas of self-care, career development, business building, or wealth consciousness, please let me know. I will be sending you a video or a class at least once a week. I thank you again for being a part of this self-care community. I bless you with love, peace, and prosperity. Till next time.